They said I washed up on the shore, that I was lucky to be alive. But when you wake up with scars you don't remember earning, and eyes you swear used to be a different color, luck feels like a bad joke. The first thing I remember is the salt. The second is the man who called me by a name that wasn't mine. He said, "Maris." I said, "You've got the wrong girl." But the way his voice shook when he looked at me made my wolf, the one I didn't know existed, stir like a storm under my skin. If you believe some memories refuse to stay buried, hit subscribe before fate digs them up. Chapter 1. They say caffeine fixes everything. They lied. The espresso machine hissed like it was personally offended by existence, and I matched its energy. Another fog-choked morning at the Seabright Cafe, our town's only coffee shop and unofficial confessional booth. Locals came for caffeine and gossip. Tourists came for the view. I came because it paid in tips and distraction. "Maris, you're scaring the customers again," Kai called from the pastry counter, balancing 3 croissants and an ego the size of the sun. "Try smiling." Or, something vaguely human. I gave him my sweetest dead-eyed grin. "Like this?" He snorted. "Perfect. If corporate ever needs a training video on customer service trauma, we're ready." That's when the bell above the door chimed, and he walked in. Not the usual fisherman or sleep-deprived tourist. No, this one carried storms with him. Broad shoulders beneath a black coat, eyes like thunder clouds trying to remember sunlight. He paused on the threshold, as if the salt air itself had whispered something unwelcome. My pulse stuttered. He looked around. Once, and then found me behind the counter. His gaze locked, and for a second it wasn't attraction, it was recognition. "Maris," he breathed, voice low and raw. My heart kicked. "That's me," I said carefully. "And you are? You don't know me." He stepped closer. "You don't remember." "Try again," I said, backing half a step. "You're giving stalker energy and I'm on my 3rd espresso." Kai looked between us, frozen mid-muffin delivery. "Do I call security or start recording for TikTok?" The stranger blinked, as if reality itself was struggling to catch up. Then quietly, "I've been looking for you." I laughed, the dry, too loud kind that fills uncomfortable space. "Yeah, good luck, because I'm still looking for me." He smiled then, small, pained. "You always said that when you were nervous." That made me pause, because my skin prickled in answer, like my body remembered something my mind refused to. Like he'd touched me before, like he'd hurt me before, like both. I covered the tremor by slamming a cup onto the counter. "Coffee?" He nodded, slow, black, no sugar. "You hate sweet things." My hand froze halfway to the filter. "Excuse me?" He met my eyes. "You said sugar ruins the taste of the truth." Kai mouthed "run" from across the room. Instead, I poured his coffee, because apparently I'd decided fight or flight could wait until after customer service. When I slid the cup toward him, our fingers brushed. My vision flared. The cafe vanished. For half a heartbeat, I saw a silver moon over a forest. And him, bare-chested, bloodied, roaring my name. Then it was gone. So was my balance. He caught me before I hit the ground, strong arms steady and unbearably familiar. "Easy," he murmured. "It's starting." "What is?" I whispered. "Your memory." "Your wolf," my laugh cracked. "Right." "My what?" He smiled faintly. "You still think you're human." "Last I checked, I pay taxes and get hangovers, so yeah." He set me back on my feet gently. "They took everything from you, Maris. Your name, your pack, your memories." "But not me," I swallowed hard. "You sound like a bad ex with good PR." His jaw flexed. "I'm the one who buried you." The world tilted. Before I could breathe, he turned and walked out, leaving the bell to jingle behind him like a final heartbeat. Kai rushed over, waving his phone. "So, That was a solid 10 on the mysterious trauma X scale. You okay? Not sure. Because when I looked down, the coffee cup he'd touched had a single perfect claw mark scored across the porcelain. And when I brushed it with my thumb, my skin glowed. Would you follow a stranger who claims to know the version of you the world erased? Or throw the cup and pretend fate dialed the wrong number? Comment below. I need moral support. Chapter 2. I didn't tell Kai the cup bit me back. I scrubbed the Seabright's porcelain until my fingers ached, and my brain felt less like a shaken snow globe. The claw groove across the coffee cup didn't budge. When I ran my thumb over it again, a faint shimmer pulsed under my skin like bioluminescent plankton. There and gone. Are we going to pretend that Greek god with the homicide jawline didn't call you by a soulmate name and then emotionally swan dive out the door? Kai asked, hip-bumping the trash bin closed. We are, I said, because denial and caffeine are my favorite food groups. Also, we do not reward stalker poetics. Sure, he studied me. You're pale. I'm always pale. I work the morning shift. He reached for my wrist. I tried to pull away. Too late. His gaze dropped to the pale, silvery lines that ringed the inside of my arm like delicate bracelets. Scars. Old. Strange. They glinted for a heartbeat, then went matte like my skin had a dimmer switch. Maris. His voice softened. You want me to call Dr. Reed? I already have an appointment, I said before I could talk myself out of it. For later. Good. He squeezed my shoulder. And if Thor comes back, I've got a croissant and a very sharp butter knife with his name on it. I smirked. Thanks. I'll put that on the restraining order. By noon the fog had burned off. The harbor glittered with stubborn optimism, tourist boats bobbing like they'd never been asked to carry secrets. I should have gone home, crawled under my thrifted quilt, and pretended I didn't hear echoes when I closed my eyes, Maris like a prayer and a warning. Instead, I kept my appointment. Dr. Isla Reed's office sat above a bookstore that smelled like old paper and lemon oil. The plaque on her door could have said therapist or fortune teller, and no one would have blinked. Inside, the walls held seascapes and a vintage map of the coastline, the kind with faded ink and little dragons in the margins. Isla herself was mid-30s, warm-eyed, the kind of woman who made you want to confess that time you stole a lipstick at 14 and have felt guilty ever since. Maris, she said, like the name mattered. Come in. I sat on the couch that had absolutely heard the worst of this town. So, I started, and then stalled. I had a visitor. She waited. She had that therapist stillness that made silence feel like a choice instead of a punishment. He knew me, I said, or thinks he does. Called me by my name like it was a secret code. And when he touched me, I saw a forest, she asked gently. Moonlight? Breath you know but can't place? I blinked. Are you psychic? Trauma makes patterns, she said, not unkind. So does a coastline town where half the population is running from or toward something, I breathed out. Right. Well, the touch wasn't normal. Like a memory wanting to surface, she said, watching me. Like a body that remembers what the mind has stored somewhere safer. My throat tightened. I woke up on the beach a year ago, Isla. I rarely said this part out loud. No ID, a name on my tongue that tasted wrong, Maris, and scars that looked like jewelry burned under my skin. I gestured to the pale rings. They don't hurt. They do glow. Sometimes, may I? She asked, hand hovering. I nodded. She didn't touch me. She just leaned in, studying the skin like it might blink. Silvered keloids, she murmured. Consistent with unusual exposure. Unusual like a bonfire cult? Her mouth twitched. Unusual like metal your body didn't like. Like what? She considered. You said the visitor's presence shifted your senses. How? You smell different today, Maris. I stared. That's a bold clinical note. Like rain on hot stone, she continued thoughtfully. And electric, like the split second before lightning hits. My skin prickled. "Are you sure you're a therapist?" She smiled. "I am sure I've seen scars like yours." From a drawer, she withdrew a small leather-bound notebook, aged, edges scalloped like it had been thumbed through 100 times. 4 dark, parallel scratches slashed the cover. "A long time ago, a woman came to me with marks I couldn't explain and a story no one wanted. She left this." She placed it on the table between us. The leather was warm, familiar. My fingers shook when I slid it closer. Inside, the handwriting slanted fierce and elegant. A list of names, dates, phrases that felt like pulling a thread sewn into my bones. Blood oaths, moon courts, silver burns, but does not break what is ours. At the back, tucked into a slit, lay a folded slip of paper stained a rusty brown. I knew, before I unfolded it, that it would smell faintly of iron. It did. A single line scrawled in the same hand. "If I disappear, trust the man who promised me the sea." I swallowed. "You can't be serious." "Do you trust him?" Isla asked quietly. "I don't know him," I snapped, then softened. "Which is the problem?" "My body." "Does we sat with that?" Finally, Isla said, 2 more things. 1. Watch for changes. Strength, senses, dreams. 2. Someone else came by asking for you. Last week, who? Woman in her 50s, excellent posture, eyes like razors. She introduced herself as Maris Clarke. The room shrank. My name burned in my mouth. "That's my last name." "I know," Isla said. She asked me what I knew. I said nothing. She smiled like a knife and left her card. She slid a card across the table. Heavy stock, embossed, Maris Clarke Vale Holdings. A number, a crest. 3 sigils interlocked. My scars pulsed once, a faint, painful answering flare. "Don't call her," Isla said softly. "Wasn't planning on it." "Good." Isla reached for a tiny cobalt vial in a velvet pouch and pushed it toward me. "An herbal tincture," she said before I could accuse her of witchcraft. "For nightmares and dizziness. 1 drop under the tongue. If it burns, rinse. If it doesn't, keep breathing." "Those instructions are not inspiring confidence." She tilted her head. "You'll come back tomorrow?" "I will if I don't spontaneously grow fur." "Maris," she said, voice warm, firm. "Whatever they took, it didn't erase you. It complicated you. That's different." I left with the notebook hidden under my jacket, the vial warm against my palm, and my heart beating a drumline against my ribs. Outside, the wind carried salt and copper today. On instinct, I looked up. Caged Drayke stood across the street, coat unbuttoned, hair wind-ruffled, eyes on me like I was both storm and harbor. He didn't move until I did. When I did, he crossed. No theatrics, just inexorable gravity. "Isla trustworthy?" he asked, greeting me with a question instead of apology. "She didn't try to harvest my organs," I said. "So far, so good." His mouth quirked. For a heartbeat, I wondered what his laugh sounded like when it wasn't sanded down by grief. "You're changing," he said quietly. "Can you feel it?" I should have lied. Instead, yes. "Your senses will sharpen. You'll get hungry at midnight. Your pulse will stutter under a full moon. Don't fight it. Why not? Because resisting makes it hurt more." He looked past me down the block, tense. The suite of muscle along his jaw flexed. "They're here." "Who?" "Your blood," he said, "and the ones who own them." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Listen. Your family didn't lose you. They erased you to cover a crime that would have cost them everything." Cold slid down my spine. "What crime?" "An oath," he said, each word precise, "signed in blood." Broken in greed, I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to press my fingers to the scars and ask them to open and pour out the truth. "What do you want from me?" I asked instead. His eyes burned a dark sea gray. "To keep you breathing while you remember." "Great," I said, throat tight. "No pressure. If you come with me now, Oh, we're there already? I cut in. Skip coffee, go straight to elopement and witness protection? Something like amusement flickered across his face and was gone. I can keep you hidden. But you don't trust me yet. He nodded once as if agreeing with himself. Then don't leave town alone. Don't answer calls you don't recognize. And if you smell iron and pine, run. Why? Because that's the scent of the men your brother hires. The world titled again, then righted. Lucan, I whispered, trying the name in my mouth. It tasted like expensive whiskey and locked doors. He's my blood, Cage said, not your pack. Pack, I echoed, like a foreign word. Mine tasted different. Right. A black SUV rolled slow past the curb, windows tinted. Cage shifted his stance, subtly placing himself between me and the street. Protective like breathing, irritating like breathing. You're making this worse, I muttered. I'm making you visible, he said simply. Your family likes shadows. We stood in the sunlight, held there by old gravity and new threat. If a man you barely remember told you your own family erased you, would you leave with him, or make them look you in the eye first? Tell me below. I need backup opinions and snacks. I went home before the dark settled. Up the narrow stairs above the laundromat to my little apartment with a crooked window and a view of the neon open sign blinking like a heartbeat. I triple-locked the door and set the notebook on the table like a consecrated thing. I turned the vial over in my hand. 1 drop under the tongue, Isla had said. I hesitated, then set it down. Cowardice or wisdom? Hard to say. A scratching sound whispered at the window. My stomach dropped. I crossed the room, heart thudding. Outside, tangled in the window grate, something fluttered in the wind. A strip of linen? No, a ribbon, white, now streaked dark. I unlatched the sash and reached. The ribbon came free easily. Tied to it, a small silver charm clicked against the glass. A crest of 3 interlocking sigils, delicate, deadly. The Clarke crest. My scars sang a soft, painful ache at the sight. A note was looped through the ribbon. Ink bled at the edges. Found you. Return what was promised, or the next thing we take will be louder. See. My mouth went dry. The letter smelled faintly of iron and pine. Something thumped against my door. Twice. Then a third time. Deliberate. Calm. Maris Clarke, a male voice called, deep and smooth, the kind that knew it would be obeyed. Open up, I forced air into my lungs. Go away. Silence. Then, through the wood, softly amused. You're using the wrong last name again, little sister. The neon open sign blinked once, twice, like a warning, like a pulse. My wolf, whatever feral, furious thing lived under my skin, lifted its head and bared its teeth. I reached for the vial with shaking hands. The door handle turned. Chapter 3. The handle twisted once, twice, then stopped. A slow breath slid under the crack like smoke. Maris, he said again, voice coaxing, confident. You always did love dramatics. My back hit the counter. I gripped the vial Isla gave me, thumb rubbing the glass raw. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I didn't want to see his face, because I knew that voice. Deep, patient, poisonous. Lucan Clarke. The brother who sent me birthday cards signed, "From your favorite." The one who taught me to climb trees, and pushed me when I was too slow. I'd buried the sound of him somewhere deep. The universe apparently misplaced the shovel. Go away, Lucan. He chuckled, low and warm, like a fire you don't notice spreading until it reaches the curtains. That's no way to greet family. Mother's worried sick. Tell Mother to call her therapist. Oh, she did, he said smoothly. Dr. Reed, wasn't it? She mentioned you've been seeing her. How clever of you to seek out someone we already pay. My blood turned to ice. You're lying. Am I? He said softly. Ask her about the crest she wears around her neck. Ask her who her real client is. He wasn't supposed to know about Isla. About anything. I stepped backward. slow. My knee bumped the table where the notebook lay open, moonlight spilling across the page. Lucan's voice sharpened. "Don't touch that book." "Funny," I said, voice shaking. "I was about to say the same thing to you." He laughed, quiet, delighted. "Still cheeky, still pretending you're not one of us." My wolf, the one I kept calling my panic disorder, stretched under my ribs. I felt its growl before I heard it. Lucan must have heard too, because his tone changed. Indulgent, cruel. "Ah, so he found you first." "Who?" "The mongrel," he said, venom smooth as silk. "Cage Drayke, the alpha your body remembers better than your mind. He's a curse in fur. He took everything from this family and you chose him." A dozen words burned my throat. Only 2 made it out. "Get out." "Or what, little sister? You'll bite?" The glass vial pulsed warm in my palm, the liquid inside swirling like liquid starlight. I uncorked it with my teeth and downed it. It didn't burn, it roared. Heat tore through me, white and wild. My vision splintered into layers: the room, the door, the man beyond it, and the space between us where the air shimmered with something alive. The sound that left my throat wasn't human. It cracked the light bulb overhead. Lucan went silent. "Ah," he said finally, almost reverent. "They didn't finish it. You're still—" A crash cut him off. The door splintered inward as something huge and fast slammed into him. Cage. He moved like a shadow with purpose, eyes burning molten steel. In one hand, claws half bared, he hauled Lucan off his feet like he weighed nothing. Lucan choked out a laugh. "You're trespassing on Clarke property, mutt." "This isn't Clarke territory anymore," Cage said, voice low enough to shake walls. "Not while she's breathing." Lucan's smirk didn't fade. "You can't protect her from blood. It always wins." "Then we'll spill some," Cage said. He threw him. Lucan hit the hallway wall with a sound that wasn't quite human. The lights flickered, then went out. Silence swallowed everything. When they came back on, Lucan was gone. Only a smear of silver blood on the floor. Cage turned toward me, breathing hard, pupils wide. "You okay?" "Define okay," I rasped. My pulse was a drum line. "You broke my door." "And possibly the space-time continuum would have knocked," he said. "But your brother didn't leave me the option." I laughed, the kind that bordered on hysterical. "You think I need rescuing?" "I think you need answers," he said. "And I'm the only one who'll give them without killing you first." "Comforting." He stepped closer, slow, deliberate. The kind of movement that could either soothe or shatter, depending on how you breathed. "You trust me yet?" "No." His mouth curved, just barely. "Good. Trust is earned." He crouched beside the notebook, eyes scanning the open page. His jaw tightened. "You found it." "Isla gave it to me." He looked up sharply. "Dr. Reed?" "Yeah, why?" "She's not human," he said. I blinked. "I'm sorry. Can you repeat that sentence with less apocalypse?" "She's part of the court. They monitor what leaks through when the packs break oaths." "So my therapist is a supernatural parole officer?" "Essentially," he said. "And she'll report to whoever holds your father's seat." "Which is?" "Your mother, Celine." The name made the scars on my arms sting. Cage saw it and reached out, then stopped short of touching me. "You feel it, don't you?" "The bond marks. They're waking up. I don't even know what they are." "They're a promise," he said softly, "and a punishment." My laugh came out sharp. "Well, that explains nothing and everything." He straightened, tension coiled in his shoulders. "Pack will send hunters." "We need to move before dawn." "I'm not leaving," I said, surprising even myself. "Maris—" "I've been running my whole damn life without remembering it," I snapped. "If they want to come for me, they can walk through the front door I already lost." He stared at me for a long moment, stormlight in his eyes. Then quietly, "You always were impossible." "Compliment noted." "Fine," he said. "Then I stay." "Excuse me?" "Until sunrise." He pulled a knife from his coat, silver, etched with runes that shimmered faint blue. In case they send someone less polite than your brother. You mean someone who knocks? He smiled, small and devastating. Exactly. I watched him check the windows, the corners, the shadows like he'd built this place from paranoia. When he finally settled across from me, leaning against the wall, the air felt heavier but safer. Somehow both. What are you really? I asked. He didn't look at me when he said it. The one who swore to find you. Even if it killed me, why? His gaze met mine, something wild flickering there. Because you died saving me. The room went silent. My heart forgot how to beat. Outside, the tide hit the rocks like applause. If someone told you that you died for them, and then came back with no memory, would you believe them, or run before you remembered why you did it? Chapter 4. You ever feel the air change, like the room exhales before your heart catches up? That's what it felt like when Cage said it. Because you died saving me. For a second I thought he was kidding, dark, poetic, trauma-bond humor or something. Then I realized Cage Drayke doesn't do jokes. He leaned against the wall, eyes shadowed by the faint blue glow of his rune-etched knife. You were gone for 73 minutes, he said, voice like gravel wrapped in silk. No heartbeat, no scent. The sea gave you back the sea? I echoed. What am I, a Disney reboot? His mouth twitched, almost a smile. You always made fun of things that scared you. Congratulations, you just described my coping mechanism. He set the knife aside and looked at me, really looked. We were ambushed at the treaty cliffs. Your family wanted my pack's territory. I wanted peace. He took a slow breath. You wanted both. Something flickered behind my ribs, a half-memory. Salt wind, silver water, someone shouting my name. Cage. You stood between them and me, he said softly. Your brother aimed the blade. You turned it. Took the hit meant for me. My pulse stuttered. And then, you fell. He paused, like the word fell wasn't big enough. The tide carried you out. We searched for days. When we found you, your scent was gone. Your mother claimed you'd been buried at sea. I guess she skipped the part where she unburied me, I muttered. Celine doesn't leave loose ends, he said. She found a way to wipe what she couldn't kill. The scars, I whispered, tracing the faint silver rings around my wrists. Witch silver, he confirmed, bound with your blood. It locks memory and suppresses your wolf. Neat trick, I said dryly. Does it come with a loyalty card? Maris. He said my name like it was a prayer and an apology. When you disappeared, I swore an oath to the Sea Court. I'd find you, even if it cost me my Alpha's mark. Which means what exactly? He hesitated. That if I failed, my pack would fall. My stomach dropped. So you risked everyone for me? I didn't risk them, he said, jaw tightening. I chose you. The silence between us wasn't empty. It was charged, like the second before lightning hits. Why? I whispered. He looked at me for a long time before answering. Because even before fate decided we were mates, I loved you. My breath caught. Okay, I said finally, voice wobbling. That's not casual first date conversation. It's not a first date, he said simply. It's a second life. I stood, pacing because sitting felt dangerous. So let me get this straight. I died saving you. My family scrubbed my memory. My therapist moonlights for the enemy. And you're basically a wolf-shaped guilt complex with abs? Accurate summary, he said. Good. Just checking I'm still losing my mind in the right direction. Something thumped against the window. We both froze. Cage's nostrils flared. Iron and pine. My stomach twisted. You mean hunters, he growled. Your brother's men. The shadows outside the glass shifted. Silhouettes, slow and sure. Stay behind me, he said, pulling the knife. The blue runes flared brighter. Are you about to go full wolf? I asked, voice shaking. Not unless I have to. Well, define have to, because I really need to set expectations before we... The window shattered. Glass rained down as two men in dark coats lunged through. Their eyes gleamed with something wrong. Too pale, too empty. Wolves, but not natural ones. Bound wolves. Cage moved before I could blink. A blur of motion, claws flashing silver blue, a snarl tearing through the dark. I ducked under the counter, heart in my throat, grabbing the first weapon I found, a frying pan. Yeah, I know. But it worked for Rapunzel. The first hunter hit the floor. The second went for Cage's throat. And that's when my body moved on its own. I didn't think, I didn't breathe, I just leapt. One heartbeat I was behind the counter. The next, I was halfway across the room, knocking the attacker sideways with a force that didn't belong to me. My nails dug deep into his coat. No, claws. He yelped, scrambling back. Cage's eyes met mine. Shock, pride, something else. Your wolf's awake. I don't have a wolf, I shouted, panting. You do now. The hunter swung a blade. Instinct flared. I ducked, swept his leg, drove the frying pan into his jaw. It cracked. Satisfying. Cage finished the other one with brutal grace. The silence afterward was heavy, metallic. I looked at my hands. My fingers still trembled with adrenaline, but the nails, sharp, faintly curved. Silver glinted at the tips. Oh, I said faintly. That's new. Cage crouched beside me, eyes burning in the dim. You shifted partially, he murmured. Your body's remembering faster than I thought. My body can calm down any time now, I said, voice shaking. I didn't order the deluxe transformation package. He actually smiled. Still funny when you're terrified. It's a survival instinct. He studied me a moment, expression softening. You were always like this. Brave first, sarcastic second, third's caffeine, I muttered. Never skip the basics. He chuckled under his breath, then turned serious. We can't stay here. Yeah, I figured that out when they redecorated with broken glass. He rose, glancing toward the door. There's a safe house north of the cliffs. We'll rest there. Then what? Then I'll help you remember everything. I grabbed my jacket, the notebook, and a bag of emergency granola bars. Don't judge me. When I turned back, Cage stood in the doorway, watching the horizon. The sky was paling, the sea restless. Cage? He looked at me, eyes softening in that quiet, devastating way of his. You don't have to be afraid of what's coming. I'm not afraid, I said. I'm annoyed. That earned me another ghost of a smile. You're still you, Maris Clarke. That's how I know we'll win. Yeah? I asked, stepping up beside him. And what if fate disagrees? He glanced toward the ocean, where dawn painted the waves silver. Then we remind fate who started the fight. If your past came crashing back, literally, would you fight to remember it or start over again? Comment below. Because I'm voting for selective amnesia. Chapter 5. The cliffs were quieter than I remembered, which was funny because technically I didn't remember them at all. Cage said that's how trauma worked. It erased the frame but left the scent. And right now, the air smelled like déjà vu and salt. We parked his black SUV a mile from the edge, the road slick with fog and old secrets. The kind of place where the sea looked less like water and more like a mouth. Cage hadn't said much since the fight. He drove like someone who'd done it in another life, probably because he had. I wanted to ask how many times he'd died trying to find me. But the look in his eyes said I wasn't ready for the answer. You sure this is the place? I asked, gripping the edge of my seat as another gust of wind rattled the car. Certain, he said. You died here. You keep saying that like it's a fun tourist fact. He glanced at me. If I say it enough, maybe you'll stop flinching. Unlikely, I muttered. Some of us still process trauma the old-fashioned way, through sarcasm and snacks. His mouth curved, just a little. You brought granola bars. I panic pack, I said, deadpan. Survival's a hobby. We climbed the hill in silence. boots sinking into wet earth. The air tasted metallic. Every step closer made my skin hum, the scars on my wrists tingling like they recognized the place. The ocean stretched below, endless and indifferent. A jagged outcrop jutted from the cliff, black stone veined with silver. The same sigils from my family's crest glimmered faintly across its surface, pulsing like a heartbeat. "That's it," Cage murmured. "The bloodstone. Sounds cozy." He shot me a look. "It's older than our bloodlines." "Your family used it to bind oaths. When they broke one, it demanded payment. Let me guess," I said. "That payment was me?" He didn't answer. The wind shifted, carrying the faint echo of waves colliding with the rocks below. Then, whispers. Not human ones. Soft, coaxing, like the sea itself was trying to lure me closer. My scars pulsed again, harder this time, my vision blurred. I saw flashes, my hands slick with blood. Cage's face twisted in agony, a blade of silver light piercing my chest. My mother's voice, "Forgive us, daughter. Your death is an investment, then darkness." "Maris!" Cage's voice dragged me back. He was gripping my shoulders, eyes storm-bright. "You blacked out," he said. "No, I time-traveled through trauma," I gasped, shaking. "Big difference." He brushed a strand of hair from my face. "What did you see?" "Everything," I whispered. "I saw me, dying, you bleeding, and her Celine. She said my death was an investment." He exhaled, rage threading through his control. "She traded your life to seal her power. To wipe the Drayke bloodline off the map. Why me?" "Because you carried both," he said quietly. "Clarke and Drayke. You were the bridge, and she couldn't let that exist." I stumbled back, hard in my throat. "So I'm what, some cosmic paperwork error?" "No." He stepped closer. "You were the balance. The one thing she couldn't control." The wind roared. The stone beneath us began to glow, the sigils burning bright silver blue. "Cage," I said, backing up. "Your creepy murder rock is doing something." He turned toward it. "It's reacting to you." "It remembers your blood. Well, tell it to forget. I'm not in the mood for a resurrection encore." The glow intensified, spreading outward in rippling circles. Then, a voice, ancient and echoing, rose from the depths below. "Debt unpaid, blood returns to blood." The ground trembled, waves crashed harder, sending spray up like cold fire. Cage grabbed my hand. "It's calling the oath back." "What does that mean?" "It means it's time to finish what they started." Before I could ask how, the cliff split. A fissure snaked toward us, revealing a narrow tunnel glowing faintly with silver light. "Oh, hell no," I said. "We are not walking into a self-lighting death crevasse." Cage's expression didn't change. "We have to." "Your family buried your memory there. That's where the truth is. Maybe the truth should stay buried." "Maris." His hand tightened around mine. "You said you wanted answers." "This is where they live." I looked at the tunnel. The air pouring out of it smelled like salt and moonlight. And something darker. Something mine. "Fine," I muttered. "But if something jumps out and tries to possess me, I'm haunting you first." "I'll take that risk." We stepped inside. The walls were slick stone, pulsing faintly with veins of silver. Each pulse matched my heartbeat. The deeper we went, the louder the whispers grew, voices overlapping, crying, begging, my name tangled in them like a curse and a prayer. Then the tunnel opened into a chamber. At its center, a pool of seawater glowing from within, ringed by runes. Suspended above it, a pendant, silver, marked with 3 interlocked sigils. The Clarke crest. "My family's mark," I whispered. Cage nodded grimly. "They bound your life to it. As long as it exists, you'll never remember everything. You'll never be free. So what do we do?" He looked at me. "We break it," I laughed, shaky. "Oh, sure. Let's just destroy the centuries-old magical heirloom holding my soul hostage. What could go wrong?" He smiled faintly. That's the spirit. I stepped forward. The air grew heavy, electric. My scars burned like branding irons. The pendant pulsed once, twice, then flared to life, blinding light filling the chamber. I stumbled, falling to my knees. Cage caught me before I hit the ground. "Easy," he said, his voice barely audible over the roar of the sea. "It's fighting back." "Yeah, I noticed," I yelled. "Feels like being tasered by nostalgia." He placed his hand over mine. "You don't have to do it alone." "Then help me." He met my eyes. "Say the words." "What words?" "The ones you said before you died." The memory slammed back, the flash of blood, his face, my voice shouting through the storm. "No more chains!" I shouted it again. "No more chains!" The pendant shattered. Light exploded outward, throwing us both back. The ocean howled. The whispers cut off like a snapped string. When the silence fell, it was absolute. I woke to Cage kneeling beside me, his hand pressed over my heart. "Maris," he whispered, "you're back." "I wasn't gone," I croaked, "just temporarily upgraded." He huffed a laugh, rough, relieved. "What happened?" "You broke the binding," he said. "Your wolf's free." I sat up slowly. The air felt different, lighter. The scars on my wrists had faded to pale lines. And for the first time I could feel it, the quiet hum under my skin, wild and ancient and completely mine. Cage smiled faintly. "Welcome back." I smiled too. Guess fate's refund policy isn't total crap after all. Chapter 6. If peace had a sound, it was the ocean after the storm. For about 5 seconds anyway, before the universe remembered I have anxiety, and a mother with God-complex tendencies. Cage and I sat on the edge of the broken cliff, dawn bruising the sky. The air still hummed with power, like the sea hadn't decided whether to forgive us or finish the job. "You're quiet," he said finally. "I just unbound my soul from a family curse," I said. "Give me a minute to process the part where I didn't spontaneously combust." His mouth curved, small and fond. "You always downplay miracles." "Habit," I muttered. "Also, maybe don't call anything I do a miracle." "My luck's listening." He chuckled under his breath, then glanced toward the horizon. "The bloodstone's gone dark. That means the oath's broken good. Can we now, I don't know, order brunch and a therapist?" He sobered. "It also means she knows." And just like that, the peace shattered. We drove back into town, the cliffs shrinking behind us. The morning light made Seabright look normal again. Fishermen shouting across the docks, gulls stealing donuts, tourists pretending they weren't lost. But underneath the laughter, I felt it, something heavy moving through the air. By the time we reached the cafe, Kai was standing outside with a broom and a look that could start a war. "Well, if it isn't my favorite chaos duo," he said. "You missed a hell of a night. Someone trashed your apartment again. Cops came. I lied for you. You're welcome," I blinked. "You what?" "Relax," he said. "Told them you were at my place having an existential crisis and too many churros." "Accurate," I muttered. Cage scanned the street, his body going still. "She's here." Before I could ask who, the wind shifted. Cold, sharp, familiar. The world seemed to lean away from it. A sleek, black car pulled up to the curb. The door opened, and Maris Clarke stepped out. I hadn't seen my mother in a year, or a lifetime. Hard to tell when half your memories are on a USB drive labeled trauma.mp4. She looked exactly as I remembered, poised, immaculate, her silver hair twisted into a crown bun sharp enough to wound. She wore a tailored coat that probably cost more than my rent, and a smile that had never reached her eyes. "Hello, Maris," she said, voice smooth as honey over glass. "Mom." My throat burned. "You look evil. I mean, elegant Cage stepped slightly in front of me. Instinct, shield, provocation." Celine's gaze slid over him like he was an inconvenient rumor. Alpha Drayke. Still alive, I see. "Pity. Try harder next time," Cage said evenly. Her smile didn't flicker. You always did make dying look dramatic. I learned from your daughter, he said. I elbowed him lightly. Not the time for witty duels, thanks. Celine turned back to me, expression softening just enough to be terrifying. You broke the oath, my darling. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yeah, I said. It's called healing. You should try it sometime. She sighed, disappointment weaponized. You were supposed to rest. Forget, I gave you peace. You gave me amnesia, I snapped, and a family therapist who doubles as a spy. Dr. Reed served her purpose, Celine said calmly. So did you. Wow, I said. Thanks for the glowing review. I'll be sure to add useful pawn to my resume. Cage growled low in his chest. Enough. Celine's eyes narrowed. Careful, Alpha. I could crush your heart without lifting a finger. Then why haven't you? He said quietly. Because, she said, gaze sliding to me, I don't destroy what's still mine. Something inside me snapped. I'm not yours. Her hand flicked, subtle. The air between us shimmered, and pain sliced through my arms. My scars flared, glowing bright silver. Cage moved instantly, stepping between us. Stop, Celine tilted her head. Still protecting her? Sweet. Pointless. You can't bind her again, he said. The bloodstone's gone. I don't need the stone, she murmured. I have blood. The world went white. When I blinked, I was on my knees. Blood dripped from my wrists. Not wounds, but sigils carved in light. They pulsed, trying to close around me like shackles. Cage knelt beside me, pressing his hand over the marks. Fight it, he said. She's using the moon's tide. Draw from your wolf. I barely have a wolf, I gasped. Then let her borrow mine. He lifted his wrist and bit it, hard. Blood welled, glowing faintly gold. Before I could protest, he pressed it to my skin. The light from my scars twisted, then turned red, then vanished. Celine hissed. You bonded her! Cage met her gaze, unflinching. I claimed what you abandoned. Silence fell, deep and electric. Celine's face went perfectly still. Then she smiled. You think you've won, boy. But bonds cut both ways. You've just tethered your heart to her curse. Then she stepped back. Her car door opened by itself. She paused, eyes on me. When the moon turns crimson, she said softly, you'll understand what you really are. And then she was gone. The street stayed silent long after the car disappeared. Kai exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for an hour. Okay, he said finally. I'm just gonna say it. Your mom has serious villain energy, like final boss with emotional damage energy. Yeah, I croaked. Welcome to the Clarke family. Cage helped me up gently. His hands were warm, steady. You okay? No, I said. But that's becoming my normal. He studied the faint marks on my wrists, now glowing gold, faint but alive. It worked, he murmured. You're safe. For now, I said. But what did she mean? Crimson moon? Cage's eyes darkened. It's the blood moon, the night the old oaths wake. It's in 7 days. So we have a week to stop my mother from using me as a magical battery again, I said flatly. Cool, love that for us, Maris, he said quietly. We can win this. You sure? No, he admitted. But I'd rather die beside you than live without you. I stared at him. This impossible, stubborn man who smelled like storms and home. And for the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt known. Fine, I said, voice trembling. Then let's make fate regret ever picking this fight. If your mother tried to erase you from existence, and you finally had the power to fight back, would you forgive her or finish it? Comment below. Chapter 7. You know that saying, the calm before the storm? Yeah. Turns out calm is just the storm holding its breath. 7 days. That's what Cage said we had before the blood moon. The night my mother's curse would wake and collect what it was owed. I'd spent the first 3 trying to pretend things were normal, or as normal as life can be when your wolf's doing puberty at 27 and your ex-family wants to repossess your soul. The Seabright Cafe reopened, courtesy of Kai's questionable DIY skills and his insistence that, if we don't keep making coffee, evil wins. I was back behind the counter, pretending not to flinch every time the espresso machine hissed, because it sounded too much like my mother's last words. When the moon turns crimson, you'll understand what you really are. Spoiler, I didn't want to understand. Cage had turned my apartment into a temporary fortress. Silver wards carved into the window frames, salt lines by the door, runes drawn in chalk. It looked like Pinterest had a baby with a cult. He moved around the small space like he belonged there, which somehow he did. Every night he'd sit by the window, sharpening his knife, watching the sea. Every morning he'd leave before dawn, coming back with that same storm-soaked scent of danger and devotion. I pretended not to care. He pretended not to notice. It was a system. Until the fourth night, when the air shifted. I woke to the scent of rain and blood. The wards were humming, faint blue. Outside, fog crawled up from the ocean like fingers. "Cage?" I whispered. He was already up, knife in hand, eyes glowing faint amber. "Stay back." Something moved beyond the glass, a flicker of shape, too fast, too fluid. A wolf, no, wolves, 4, maybe 5, all silver-eyed, marked with my family crest on their throats. "Hunters?" I breathed. "Bloodbound," he said. "Your mother's enforcers." The largest wolf stepped forward, fur white as frost, eyes like moonfire. It howled once, and the wards shattered. Glass exploded inward. Cage lunged, faster than human, slamming one wolf into the wall. Another snapped at me. Instinct kicked in. My wolf surged, half-formed, fierce. I didn't think. I moved. One moment I was human. The next, claws, heat, heartbeat everywhere. I slammed into the attacker, teeth bared, vision edged in gold. Cage's voice cut through the chaos. "Maris, stay with me." But my wolf wasn't listening. She was hungry. The fight blurred into light and sound. Growls, claws, the scent of iron. Then, as suddenly as it began, silence. The wolves lay broken, their silver blood pooling dark on the floor. My hands, my paws, shook, then shifted back, skin replacing fur. I fell to my knees, gasping. That was new. Cage crouched beside me, still breathing hard. "You shifted," he said, a mix of awe and fear in his voice. "Half shifted," I corrected. "I still have my manicure." He smiled, small and tired. "You're handling this better than most." "I have a high tolerance for absurdity." He brushed a lock of hair from my face, fingertips lingering. "You're incredible, Maris Clarke." "Tell my mother that," I said, voice cracking. "Oh, wait, she'd frame it as a threat." His smile faded. "This was a warning." "She knows your wolf's awake." "Good," I said, standing on shaky legs. "Let her come." "Don't," he said sharply. "You don't know what she's capable of." I met his gaze. "She killed me once." "I think I'm qualified to find out." By the 6th day, the entire coast felt wrong. Birds vanished. Tides shifted. The moon hung low and red even before its time. Kai refused to leave town, despite my begging. "You'll need a distraction," he said, "and I make excellent bait." "Kai," I warned. He grinned. "Relax. I've got holy water, a baseball bat, and crippling denial. We're fine. You're an idiot," I said fondly. He winked. "Takes one to befriend one." That night, Cage took me to the cliffs again. The air shimmered crimson. The moon rose huge and terrible over the sea. "This is it," he said. "She'll come through the tide." "You mean literally from the ocean?" "She made her throne from it," he said. "And she's bringing an army." "Well," I muttered, "at least she's consistent." The wind howled, sharp and wet. Waves exploded against the rocks. And from the spray, figures emerged. Not just wolves, shadows with eyes, dozens. At their center, Celine Clarke. Her eyes glowed the same red as the moon. "Maris," she called, voice echoing through the storm. "Daughter of my blood." "Return to me, and I will forgive your defiance," I stepped forward. "You erased me," You don't get to call it forgiveness. Cage stood beside me, blade drawn, his presence steady, grounding. Celine smiled. Still protecting her? Such wasted devotion. You call it wasted, he said. I call it love. Her expression sharpened. Then watch it die. She raised her hand, and the shadows surged forward. The battle blurred into chaos. Lightning flashed. Wolves clashed. The sea screamed. Cage fought like something divine, claws and blood and fury. I moved beside him, my wolf fully awake now, instincts sharp and wild. Every time a shadow lunged, my body knew what to do. Slash, twist, strike. But then, Celine moved. She stepped through the chaos, untouched, eyes locked on me. You can't kill me, she said softly. I am your origin. No, I said, teeth bared, you're my ending. I lunged, and she caught my wrist, her grip burning. The world vanished. We were somewhere else, a void of silver light and dark water. I could see her, and I could see myself, a reflection split in two. This is what you wanted, Celine whispered. Freedom. It's pain dressed in defiance. I'll take pain, I said. It's honest. She smiled, sad, cruel. You'll regret that. I felt the bond between us, mother-daughter curse, stretch like a chain pulled taut. Then Cage's voice broke through, distant but clear. Maris, come back to me. That word, me, snapped something. I yanked against the chain. Power surged up from deep inside. The wolf, the tide, the memory of dying and living anyway. No more chains! Light exploded again, brighter, redder, alive. The chain shattered. When the world reformed, I was back on the cliff. Celine was on her knees, her power flickering like a dying star. Cage stood over her, bloodied, panting. It's done, he said. I looked down at my mother and felt nothing but peace. No, I said quietly. It's over. She lifted her gaze, voice trembling. You think you're free? I know I am. And then she smiled, soft, chilling. Then you have no idea what you've become. Her body dissolved into silver mist and was gone. The tide crashed one last time. The crimson moon faded back to white. Cage stumbled toward me, exhausted, bleeding, beautiful. It's over, he whispered. I nodded. For now. Then he smiled, faintly, painfully. You saved me. Again I smiled back, tears cutting through blood and salt. Yeah. Let's not make it a habit. If you had to choose between destroying your past or reclaiming it, which would you pick? Because tonight I learned freedom burns brighter than blood. Chapter 8. You ever feel like you've won the war but the victory party forgot to show up? That was me, covered in blood, standing under a pale moon, realizing I might have traded one curse for another. The sea had gone quiet, the kind of silence that hums in your bones. The tide pulled Celine's ashes back into the deep, and for a moment I thought I heard her laugh, soft, echoing like a promise. Cage swayed beside me, one hand pressed against his ribs. Hey, I said, catching his arm, don't you dare pass out. I've had enough dramatic collapses for one lifetime. He smiled weakly. I'm fine. You're bleeding through a prophecy, I snapped. Sit down before I staple you to the cliff. He obeyed, mostly because gravity won. His shirt was torn, blood soaking through the fabric. The wound looked wrong, too deep, too dark, like the shadows themselves were clinging to it. That's not just blood, I whispered. It's her magic, he said. She tried to bind me to her death. I can fight it. Yeah, no, we're not doing the self-sacrificing alpha routine tonight. He chuckled under his breath. You're bossier when you care. Don't make me care harder, I muttered, tearing a strip of my sleeve to press against the wound. Hold still. His hand covered mine. Warm. Trembling. Maris, he murmured, you don't understand what she did. Then explain it before you start monologuing into the afterlife. He exhaled, slow. When I claimed you, when I used my blood to free you, I tied our fates together. You're alive because I am. And now that she's gone..." The words faltered. My stomach dropped. "And now what?" His gaze met mine, quiet, apologetic, unflinchingly tender. "Now the balance wants payment." I froze. The wind cut colder. "You're saying one of us has to die?" He didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Absolutely not," I said. "We are not doing the tragic soulmates trope. I refuse." He smiled faintly. "Fate doesn't ask permission." "Well, fate can take a number. I've got trauma ahead of it in line." He laughed, then winced, clutching his side. I caught him before he hit the ground again. "Don't you dare," I whispered. "You hear me?" I didn't crawl out of a grave, punch my mom's ghost, and half shift into a murder dog just to lose you now. He looked up at me, eyes glassy but burning. "You always were impossible." Compliment accepted. I half dragged, half carried him back to the truck. He was heavier than he looked, which I decided was his own fault for being tall and heroic. By the time we reached town, the fog had rolled back in, thick, unnatural, alive. Kai was waiting on the steps of the cafe, bat in hand. His eyes widened. "Holy plot twist, what happened?" "Long story short," I said. "We won." "Sort of. Maybe he took one look at Cage and swore. That's a lot of blood for a sort of." "We need somewhere safe," I said. "Somewhere she can't reach him." Kai hesitated, then nodded. "Basement. Follow me." The cafe basement was small but dry, lit by a single flickering bulb. It smelled like coffee beans and damp hope. I laid Cage on the cot Kai dragged in. His breathing was shallow, uneven. I could feel the bond between us, a thread of gold and ache, pulsing in my chest. Kai hovered in the doorway. "Do I need to call a doctor?" "Unless they specialize in curse removal and wolf blood transfusions, probably not." He grimaced. "Then I'll make coffee." "Good plan." When he was gone, I knelt beside Cage. His skin was hot to the touch. The edges of the wound glowed faintly red. Celine's magic, still alive, still feeding. "I can't lose you," I whispered. "You won't," he murmured, half-conscious. "But if it comes to it, no." I pressed my hand to his chest. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." He caught my wrist, weak but steady. "If the bond demands balance, let it take me." "Funny," I said through tears. "That's exactly what she said before she died." "You know what that makes you?" "A Clarke." "Congratulations, you're family." That earned me a faint smile. "You're beautiful when you're furious. Stop flirting while dying." "It's confusing." The wound pulsed again, light flaring. His body arched. The bond in my chest yanked hard, pain slicing through me. "No!" I gasped. "Not again!" I pressed both hands over the wound, ignoring the burn. The magic surged, fighting back, but I pushed harder, digging deep. My wolf rose, answering the call. Power poured through me, gold and wild. The light turned white, then gold, then gone. Cage went still. "Cage?" I whispered. "Hey, don't make me bite you. I'll do it." A beat of silence. Then a breath, slow, steady, alive. He opened his eyes, weak but smiling. "You did it." "No," I said, tears spilling freely. "We did it." The bond between us felt different now, balanced, not a chain, a thread, warm, alive, equal. "I think," I said, breathless, "we just rewrote the curse." "Or broke it," he said softly. "Either way," I said, collapsing beside him. "I'm keeping the receipt." He laughed, low and real. "You're never getting rid of me, are you? Not in this life or the next." "Good," he whispered, eyes fluttering closed, "because I'm tired of losing you." When he slept, I sat beside him, watching the moonlight creep through the basement window. It was white again, peaceful. Kai came down quietly, holding 2 mugs. "Still breathing?" "Yeah," I said. "Barely, but yeah." He handed me coffee. "You look wrecked." "I am wrecked." I took a sip, but for once, in a good way. He smirked. Well, congrats on surviving your villain origin story. Thanks, I said. Now I just have to survive being found. Meaning? I looked up at the moon. My mother's gone, but something else took her place. I can feel it. Like what? Like fate's not finished. It's not. Chapter 9. They say the ocean never forgets. Turns out neither do I. 3 nights after the battle, Seabright looked normal again. Children on bikes, tourists eating ice cream, the cafe door jingling like nothing ever happened. Except now, every time the tide rolled in, I heard whispers beneath the waves. My name, not in my mother's voice this time, but something older, curious, waiting. Cage was healing slowly. His wound had closed, the fever broken. But sometimes I'd catch him staring at the sea like it was calling him too. "You're quiet," I said one morning, handing him a mug of coffee. "That's suspicious." He smiled faintly. "Trying to enjoy the peace while it lasts." "You make it sound like we didn't just save the world." He shook his head. "We didn't save it. We shifted it. Semantics," I said, sipping mine. "You're still alive? I'm still sarcastic." "I call that progress." He reached out, brushing his thumb against the scar on my wrist, now gold instead of silver. "You feel it, don't you? The calm?" "The current," he said softly. "Something's still moving beneath all this." I glanced toward the ocean. He wasn't wrong. The air itself felt thick, like the pause before thunder. That night, I dreamt of the sea. Not drowning, returning. The water wasn't cold. It was alive, humming through me like blood. I saw flashes of faces I didn't know, women with golden eyes, wolves with salt white fur, a moon that pulsed like a heartbeat, and a voice, deep, resonant, feminine. Daughter of the tide. Blood of balance, return what was taken, and the sea will sleep again. I woke gasping, salt on my tongue. The sound of waves filled the room, louder than it should have been this far from shore. "Maris?" Cage's voice was rough from sleep. He sat up fast, catching my hand. "What is it?" "The sea," I whispered. "It's calling again." We drove before sunrise. Fog rolled low, thick and white as milk. The cliffs were slick, but I didn't care. The pull under my skin was too strong, like something ancient had my heartbeat on a leash. Cage followed without question, always behind me, always steady. When we reached the edge, the tide was glowing faintly gold, the same color as my scars. "Maris," he warned, "this could be a trap." "Or a message," I said, "and I need to know which." I stepped closer. The sea hissed, retreating, then surged forward, and at my feet the water parted, not metaphorically, literally. A narrow path of wet sand appeared, leading toward a dark shape half buried in the shallows. Cage swore under his breath. "That wasn't supposed to happen." "Neither was dying, but here we are." He grabbed my wrist. "If you go down there—" "Then you're coming with me," I said, and pulled him along. The sand sucked at our boots, the wind slicing sharp. The object in the surf gleamed faintly. Metal, maybe. When I crouched, brushing seaweed aside, my heart stopped. A pendant, broken, familiar. "The Clarke crest," I breathed. "But we destroyed it." "This one's different," Cage said. "Older." He knelt beside me, fingers tracing the cracked surface. 3 interlocked sigils, one faintly glowing blue. "The sea court's mark," he murmured. "What does that mean?" "It means your mother didn't make the first oath." He looked up at me. "She inherited it." The realization hit like cold water. So this wasn't just her curse. It was a lineage. Before I could respond, the water surged again, higher, harder. The pendant lifted from the sand, glowing brighter until it pulsed like a living heart. The same voice from my dream rolled through the air. "The debt remains. One must stay, so the other may walk free." My throat went dry. "Stay?" Cage's hand tightened around mine. "Don't listen." The glow intensified, surrounding us. The air trembled. You took life from the tide. Balance demands its return. The light shot upward, forming two shapes. Mirror images. One of me, one of him. Both made of mist and moonlight. "Maris," Cage said, voice hoarse, "it's calling in the bond." "No," I whispered. "We already paid the price." "Not enough." The water rose to my knees. The ghost version of Cage reached out, hand passing through mine. "Go," he said softly. "Let me pay it." "I told you before," I snapped. "We do this together." "Maris." "No!" My wolf surged again, furious, defiant. "You don't get to die for me." Not again. The sea roared louder, the current pulling harder. Cage wrapped his arms around me, anchoring us both. "Then what?" he shouted over the storm. "What do we give it?" My mind raced. The pendant's light flickered with each wave, pulsing with memory. "The bloodline," I realized. "It wants the oath itself." "The curse, not us. How do we give that?" I grabbed the pendant. "We end it." The metal burned my hands, gold light spilling between my fingers. I felt the echoes of every voice before me, women, wolves, the weight of generations. "Let it end," I said. "No more blood, no more chains." The sea screamed, and then it went still. The glow vanished. The water dropped, calm and silent once more. The pendant crumbled to dust in my palms. Cage pulled me close, breathing hard. "You did it. We did it," I whispered. My voice shook. "It's over." He tilted his forehead against mine. "You sure?" I looked at the sea, calm, soft, finally quiet. "For now," I said. "But the ocean never forgets." He smiled faintly. "Then we'll remind it who we are." "Who are we?" I asked, half laughing, half crying. He brushed his thumb along my jaw, eyes warm and fierce. "The ones who were found." We stood there as the sun broke through the clouds, painting the horizon gold. The tide washed over our boots, gentle this time, almost like gratitude. And for the first time since waking up on that beach, I didn't feel lost. I felt home. Epilogue. 6 months later, the sea still whispers. Not the kind that begs or bargains, just the kind that hums quietly when the moon's high, like an old friend remembering your favorite song. Life in Seabright finally settled into something resembling normal. Kai rebuilt the cafe, again. Only this time he added a "No Supernatural Duels Past 5 p.m. sign. It glows in neon pink. Tourists love it. Cage and I moved into the old lighthouse on the northern bluff, a place where the sea couldn't sneak up on us, but still sang loud enough that my wolf could sleep. Most nights he reads in bed while I sketch the horizon, both of us pretending we're not waiting for the tide to turn strange again. But tonight, it does. I was closing the shutters when I saw it, a small shape bobbing in the surf, silver against the dark. "Cage," I called. He was downstairs repairing the generator. "If it's another sea serpent, tell it to take a number." "Not funny." I ran out barefoot, the cold sand biting my skin. The wind was sharp, the kind that smelled like rain and secrets. The shape washed ashore, a small glass bottle stoppered with wax, sealed in white ribbon. For one frozen moment, I didn't breathe. Then I picked it up. Inside, a folded letter, inked in silver. Back inside, Cage joined me, towel around his shoulders, curiosity and warning both in his eyes. "Maris," he said slowly, "that seal—" "I know. It was the Clarke crest, the one we destroyed. I broke the wax. The paper inside was damp but legible. The handwriting was elegant, sharp, familiar enough to hurt.
My daughter, if you are reading this, then the tide kept its word and carried what I could not say. You think I cursed you. In truth, I tried to protect you from something far older than either of us, the debt of the first oath, the one that began our bloodline. The sea is not evil, Maris. It only keeps accounts. You have freed us, but balance still demands a guardian. The ocean remembers your name because it must. When the moon bleeds again, listen for its call. It will not ask for blood this time. It will ask for a choice. Until then, live. Love him. He was always meant to find you. Celine Clarke.
I read it twice. Once as a daughter. Once as someone who had finally stopped being a ghost. Cage took the letter gently from my hand. You believe her? I don't know, I admitted, but it doesn't feel like a threat. More like a promise. He nodded. Then we wait. Together I smiled, soft. You're really bad at letting me handle my trauma alone, you know that? Occupational hazard of loving you. Sounds like a full-time job. He leaned in, lips brushing my forehead. With terrible pay and excellent benefits. I laughed, the sound catching the air and carrying out toward the sea. The bottle lay on the windowsill, moonlight gleaming off its glass. Outside, the tide whispered. Not hungry this time, not angry, just alive. That night, as the waves kissed the shore and the lighthouse lantern spun slow circles over the dark, I dreamed of the ocean again. Only this time it wasn't calling me back. It was thanking me. And somewhere in that dream, my mother's voice murmured, "You are what we could not be, found and free." If you believe even the sea keeps second chances hidden beneath the waves, hit subscribe and come back when the moon turns red again, because some stories never end, they just wait for the next tide.